The next time you grab a drink after work, you are participating in a ritual older than writing, older than farming, and arguably older than our species itself. We often treat alcohol as a byproduct of modern life, a luxury that appeared only after we mastered the world around us. Most history books follow this timeline. Humans stopped hunting, settled down to farm, built permanent villages, and eventually discovered fermentation. But a discovery at Rockafet Cave in Israel shattered that theory. Archaeologists found evidence of brewing dating back 13,000 years. The Natufian people who used this cave were not farmers. They were still nomadic hunter-gatherers, yet they had carved stone mortars into the bedrock, specifically to soak and ferment wild wheat and barley. This suggests a different relationship with our past. It points to the possibility that the drive to ferment grain came long before we ever had a permanent home or a single planted field. To find the source of that drive, we have to look back 10 million years to the forests of Africa and our primate ancestors. When fruit falls and sits on the forest floor, its sugars naturally break down. Wild yeast enters the fruit, fermentation begins, and it starts producing low levels of ethanol. Our ancestors sought out this overripe fruit. The ethanol inside made them feel a little drunk. They didn't understand the chemistry, but the sensation felt good, so they kept coming back for more. Biologist Robert Dudley calls this the Drunken Monkey hypothesis. He argues that seeking out alcohol wasn't a mistake. It was a survival strategy for identifying the most calorie-dense food available. The scent of ethanol acted as a biological dinner bell. It guided primates through the canopy to the exact spot where the most energy-rich fruit was fermenting on the ground. Over millions of years, the primates who followed that scent survived more often and passed those traits down. Evolution hardwired the pursuit of alcohol into our genetic code. By the time the first humans appeared, the taste for alcohol was already a pre-installed feature of our biology, waiting for us to figure out how to produce it on purpose. 12,000 years ago, that biological drive manifested at Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. Nomadic groups built massive stone circles here, long before they had permanent homes or pottery. For decades, archaeologists couldn't explain why nomads would organize the massive labor needed to move 10-ton stones and carve them with such precision. The explanation arrived in the form of massive stone vats found at the site. Chemical analysis confirmed they once held large quantities of fermented grain. Researchers now view Göbekli Tepe as a centralized gathering place for ritual feasting and large-scale drinking, built by people who otherwise spent their lives on the move. This supports the theory that humans didn't start farming to make bread, they started farming to ensure they had enough grain to keep making beer. This chart shows the difference in effort. Bread requires grinding, kneading, and baking. Beer is a largely passive process. You soak the grain in water, leave it alone, and the fermentation happens by itself. The biological reward of the drink was a more powerful motivator than the desire for bread. The agricultural revolution was the direct result of humans trying to scale up their alcohol production. By 7000 BCE in China, we see evidence of sophisticated recipes. Jars found in the village of Jiahu contained a deliberate blend of rice, honey, and fruit, showing that early brewers were already mastering complex flavors. As these small villages grew into the first empires, alcohol became the essential infrastructure that kept them running. In ancient Egypt, the workers who built the pyramids were paid a daily salary of 4 to 5 liters of beer. It was the currency that fueled the construction of the ancient world. This system protected public health. While the water of the Nile was often unsafe to drink, the brewing process killed off parasites, making beer the only reliable source of hydration. It also provided the necessary fuel for hard labor. For a worker moving limestone blocks in the heat, beer was a liquid meal that provided essential calories and nutrients. It even filled the roles of medicine and religion. Doctors prescribed beer for infections, and priests offered it to the god Osiris, believing it was a divine gift to humanity. In the ancient world, beer performed the work of a paycheck, a water filter, a meal, and a prayer, all within a single cup. The timeline is clear. It began 10 million years ago as a survival mechanism on a forest floor. 13,000 years ago, it led nomadic humans to brew in caves before they owned a farm. 12,000 years ago, it gave hunter-gatherers a reason to build the world's first monuments. And 5,000 years ago, it became the literal fuel for the first great empires. The 10-million-year pursuit of alcohol provided the social and biological motivation to develop agriculture and organize the first permanent human societies. Every time you raise a glass, you are continuing a biological impulse that shaped the planet long before our species had a name.